Welcome back, Warriors. It's me, Linda B. Thank you all so much for joining me here tonight for another live stream. Remember, I do my live streams on most Mondays through Thursdays at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you guys so much. We just got a lot to talk about today. We got to unpack what's going on in the world today. We're going to start off with a word of prayer. Dear God, we just thank you for you being you, and we pray that we thank you that you've created us in your image. We thank you for your graces and your mercies that are renewed every day. We thank you that you are a loving God and that we can trust you and that your word holds true. Thank you for everything. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, Warriors, who do we have in the chat? We have Fed Up Patriot. Hey, Fed Up Patriot. Hello, June Stanley. How you doing, June? Hope everyone is doing well. Iron Ear. Hi, Iron. All right, let's see. SK Abstract Art. Hello there. How are you doing today? All right, let's see who else we have here in the chat. Karen, good evening to you too, Karen. All right, Jane, I'm sorry, let me see. Bernie, how you doing, Bernie? Hello, Jane. Fecto, hello, Jane. Hope everyone's doing well. Nick Gupton, hello. All right, for Country First, hello there. Cookies 45, hi Cookies. James Ferguson, hello there. I love it seeing new people in the chat. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Now, don't forget to smash the like button, hit the thumbs up, comment, share, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Select the all notifications so you don't ever miss a video. I kindly and respectfully ask you guys to stick around to the end. Let's get into the whole thing. Oh, I see Maga Tamara. Hi, Maga Tamara. Kelly. All right. Hi, Kelly. Hello. All right, let's get into this. So I want to start off by saying we know that there was a health update on President Donald J. Trump. Okay, they're saying that it was nothing serious. It was about swelling in the lower extremities. You know, the man loves him some Diet Coke. Okay, he is almost 80. I mean, he right up on 80 like this. You know, he just turned 79 last month. So we need to pray. Even though they said it'll be fine, but he has swelling. He works very hard. He is not a young man. And this condition is common for people over the age of 70. So let's pray against that Diet Coke addiction and pray that he gets better. And there were some things that people were noticing about his ankles and hands. So let's just hear from White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt. And if you're looking at my screen here, you can see, and I can really see it in the ankles there. They do look swollen, very swollen. So let's hear what she has to say about this.
That many in the media have been speculating about bruising on the president's hand and also swelling in the president's legs. So in the effort of transparency, the president wanted me to share a note from his physician with all of you today. In recent weeks, President Trump noted mild swelling in his lower legs. In keeping with routine medical care and out of an abundance of caution, this concern was thoroughly evaluated by the White House Medical Unit. The president underwent a comprehensive examination, including diagnostic vascular studies. Bilateral lower extremity venous Doppler ultrasounds were performed and revealed chronic venous insufficiency, a benign and common condition, particularly in individuals over the age of 70. Importantly, there was no evidence of deep vein thrombosis or arterial disease. Laboratory testing included a complete blood count, comprehensive metabolic panel, coagulation profile, D-dimer, B-type natriuretic peptide, and cardiac biomarkers. All results were within normal limits. An echocardiogram was also performed and confirmed normal cardiac structure and function. No signs of heart failure, renal impairment, or systemic illness were identified. Additionally, recent photos of the president have shown minor bruising on the back of his hand. This is consistent with minor soft tissue irritation from frequent handshaking and the use of aspirin, which is taken as part of a standard cardiovascular prevention regimen. This is a well-known and benign side effect of aspirin therapy. And the president remains in excellent health, which I think all of you witness on a daily basis here. So the president wanted me to share that note with all of you. I'm happy to take further questions.
All right, she's happy to take further questions. I wanted to share that with you all in case you don't know that. And yes, he does eat McDonald's hamburgers. I'm like, you need to eat better. You are not a spring chicken. Okay, I'm a lot younger than President Trump, and I don't eat like that. I don't even drink sodas. I don't eat McDonald's burgers. I make my burgers at home, so I know what's in them. Well, more than likely, I know most of what's in there. You mean you never really know unless you growing your cows yourself. Okay, but any event, that's one thing I want to share with you guys today. We need to pray for him, and it doesn't hurt to pray. You know what I mean? And pray for his safety, spiritual, mental, physical, our country, and everything that the demon rats are trying to do. Y'all know what to do. You all know what to do. That's it, warriors. We are warriors for a reason. We are prayer warriors. All right. Now, I wanted to share a little something. And you guys know about James Comey's daughter was fired by the DOJ. I just wanted to throw that in there. I'm just going to read this. This was yesterday. Pam Bondi fired Maureen Comey, daughter of James Comey, from her job as a prosecutor in the Manhattan U.S. Attorney's Office per Politico. She worked on the prosecution of, everybody with the J.E. stuff, the girlfriend, the infamous, J.E. and the Island and Sean Diddy. Okay. So she's worked on that. So we know that. So I want to share a little bit with you with Joyless Reid. Okay. Piers Morgan interviewed her and she got a little flustered. Okay. She had like a little meltdown. And I just wanted to share that with you guys. Piers Morgan with Joyless Reid here. Here we go.
Away, denaturalizing. That's Idi Amin behavior. There's a black fascist that you can compare it to.
Okay. Let's move on to, I want to just play a clip of when you lost your job at MSNBC. Let's watch this.
My show had value, and that that what I was doing had value.
I can imagine anybody being upset if they're let go, but at the same time, this woman was constantly spewing out the most. It's just nerve-wracking. People get tired after a while. They don't want to hear it anymore. You know what I mean? I don't want to hear it. She worked there for 9 years, I believe it was. And she was claiming racism. Where was all the racism the 9 years you were there? Your ratings just tanked. That's what it boils down to.
And value. And in the end, I'm sorry, I try not to cry on TV. And whether it's talking about any of these issues, and yes, whether it's talking about Gaza and the fact that we as the American people have a right to object to little babies being bombed. And I am not sorry that I stood up for those things, because those things are of God. And I'm a church girl too. And
all right, here we go with the church girl. You guys, I got to do these frequent pauses. Okay. She says she has a right to be upset about little babies being bombed. I agree with her on that, but the Democrats are not consistent with what their beliefs are. They'll be upset over children in Gaza as long as it fits their narrative. If you're going to be upset about what happens to children, always be that way across, no matter what you're talking about. Yes, I agree. We should be upset about the children. We should be about innocent people losing their lives, of course. But then you get to abortion, then it changes. It's not about the children anymore. It's about the woman's body. You know what I mean? They're very hypocritical. Very, very, very hypocritical.
Those are the things that I was taught were of God. And so I'm not sorry. I'm just proud of my show.
Now, look, you're perfectly entitled to be proud of your show. Many people enjoyed your show for many years. A lot of people at NBC were briefing that the reason was declining ratings post the election, 47% decrease in your election, in ratings from pre-election. But you told Mark Lamont Hill on his show this.
After I said on my show that the reason Americans could relate to Ukrainians in a way that they didn't relate to Palestinians, that Ukrainians are white. And so watching white people get their schools bombed was, hit different. That hit our ratings. I mean, it definitely, we could see the loss of white viewers from that moment that I said that. Right. So they were like,
look at his shirt. I'm sorry, I got to say something about this t-shirt. The future is black and feminist. Ooh, they just wear you out with this foolishness, don't they? Oh my God.
Like, we don't like the name calling. And also I'm a Black woman. So, I mean, I'm sure it makes him angrier, when I say things. Maybe because I am a global South person myself, I mean, as a Black person, we have a different empathy toward other global South people when they are suffering. And so we're going to come at that story from a different angle and in a different way and with different kinds of empathies. And I think that's not always received very well in the news business.
So this is what I don't like. It always playing the victim. Everybody got to, if you are Black, if you are a woman, if you are this, you are a victim. And I'm sure because I'm Black that they wanted to receive it a certain way. Oh my gosh, enough already. Enough. I can't take it. These people are driving me insane. But I also wanted to share some news. Will the Democrats please keep talking about JE? It's improving real Donald Trump's ratings. Now, they're on CNN, they have their moments when they do actually try to pretend like they are an actual real news network. They've got Scott Jennings, they have some back and forth. And when you have differences of opinion, that does make the show more interesting when they go at each other like that. But look at this right here. And this is coming from Vernon Jones. And let's see.
I mean, look, I think this one surprised me a bit because of all these complaints online going after Trump and the Epstein files. You might think his approval ratings were going down, Republicans. If anything, they're going up. Republicans who approve of Trump, look at our CNN poll. The prior one, 86%. The one out this week, 88% were Republicans. How about Quinnipiac? The prior poll, 87% approve of Republicans. This week out, 90% with Republicans. If anything, Donald Trump's approval rating has gone up since this whole Epstein saga started. He is at the apex or close there too in terms of his popularity with Republican voters, Epstein files, complaints or not.
You just proved that not everything online is real in real life.
Who knew?
Amazing.
Twitter and X are not reality.
Is there any reason that you can find that this hasn't taken hold and hurt him?
Yeah. I mean, on X, all you hear about is the Epstein files. But how about out in the real public? Republicans who said the top issue was Epstein case. The answer is one, and not 1%. One responded. This was a great little finding that Ariel Edwards-Levy, who of course is part of our polling unit, found. Just one single Republican said that the nation's top problem is in fact the Epstein case. Not much of a surprise that therefore Donald Trump's approval rating has not suffered with Republicans because of the Epstein case. Because the bottom line is most Americans say it's not high up on their priority list.
All right. So that was that. Okay. So I need to know, why do you guys think that CNN does this thing with these two right here? They're always, doing polls in favor of Donald Trump. What is the point behind that? Because this is a liberal network. Are they trying to get there? I believe they're just trying to get the clefty lefties, we got to get together. Look, his approval ratings are up. We don't like him. I think there's a signal to the clefty lefties, the people on the far left, that something has to be done about this in the midterms. I think that's just their way of doing it, because I can't believe CNN, out of all the ones I've seen anyway, will say something positive about President Trump from time to time. It is just amazing to me. I'm like, what? Do you know what you're saying? But yes, they do that from time to time with,
surprised me a bit because of all
with him. And so it is something. Now, the next thing I want to share with you something else. This is Senator Mullen calls out Democrats' effort to release the files as political theater. Political theater. Senator Mark Wayne Mullen calls out Democrats.
This is nothing but political theater. It's so obvious that the Democrats are just using this for a political football. If they were really serious about it, what happened the last 4 years? Or were they silent, doing nothing but covering up for an absent president? And now all of a sudden they want to talk about transparency? We haven't even figured out who ran the White House the last 4 years. And now all of a sudden they want to make something of this? Are you kidding me? If they're serious about it, then why didn't they say something the last 4 years? This is nothing more than just political theater trying to go after a president that they truly despise. With that, I object.
All right. All right. Now, do you guys feel like it's just political theater? Because, there have been some good questions being asked about this. Yes, even on left-leaning networks to Jada Paul, I think her last name is. He's a Democrat, a demon rat. And they're asking, like, why now? Why was there nothing brought up during the past 4 years under Joe Biden? People need to pay attention. And people have short memories. They literally don't remember things. It's like they'll come up with a lie they said 5 years ago, 2 years ago, maybe even a year ago, say something completely different a year later, and nobody remembers. Because the Trump derangement is just that deep. But I want to share some more things with you guys because it's a lot to share. Now look who we got next. We got Tampon Tim. We got to talk about it. We got to talk about Tampon Tim. Tampon Tim is such a beta male. Boy, is he a soy boy. I just can't with him. He tries to prove that he's a man, right? Wanting to put tampons in boys' bathrooms. I mean, seriously, Tampon Tim. And there was that letter that shooter, the suspect in the shooting for the Minnesota lawmakers, the suspect that shot them at their home. He wrote a long letter, guys. Vance Bolter, he wrote a letter. And his handwriting is absolutely horrible. But he tells on Tampon Tim. Tampon Tim has got some major problems.
Gang of politically connected Somali fraudsters steal $250 million of your money. It was the single biggest COVID scam in American history. During the pandemic, the government was just giving out money left and right. A nonprofit in Minnesota, Feeding Our Future, got $250 million to send food to needy kids. Sounds good, right? Here's the problem. Almost none of it was used for food. The Somali scammers blew our cash on real estate, cars, extravagant get trips. We have wire transfers that show thousands going to car dealerships. $160,000 went to some company in China. And $500,000 was sent to Kenya to buy an apartment. A $500,000 apartment in Kenya is probably a palace. But our tax dollars weren't just used on goodies. The politicians got a taste too. Ilhan Omar got thousands of dollars in donations from some of the scammers. These guys weren't criminal masterminds. It was sloppy. When they cooked the books, they made up names of their fake clients. They came up with these names. Are you ready? Unique problem. Friday donations. How'd nobody catch that? Well, early on, Walz's administration thought it looked a little suspicious, so they froze the funds. Then the Somalis sued and called Walz racist, so he kept letting them steal. They didn't bother to crack into the bank accounts or issue subpoenas. Walz just put his hands in the air and said, I'm not racist. Take whatever you want. Minnesota has a huge Somali population. You can't get called racist and expect to win another election there. Walz even gave one of the fraudsters the Minnesota Outstanding Refugee Award. 3 years later, she was indicted. No thanks to Walz, the feds came in after he ignored the problem for years. During the trial, the Somalis tracked down a juror and dropped off a Hallmark bag on their doorstep, filled with 120 G's, and a little note saying there's more to come if she acquits. This all happened under Walz's nose. He had every chance to stop it and failed. Just like he failed to protect his city during the riots, and just like he failed his unit when he retired before deployment. This is the guy Kamala Harris chose as her number 2.
We could have had Kamala Harris in the White House. Woo! Y'all better do a hallelujah dance. If you got to do one right now, just do a hallelujah dance. Do one of those little church dances. That is crazy. If you think about it, that is wild. We could have had that. And look at all the corruption. And that just bothers me. But people, you know what? I'm so sick of this. I'm so sick. I don't like it when they say, well, you must be racist. You racist. And so he said, well, this is what I got to say about some white folks. I know y'all don't get mad at me. Just listen up, okay? Some white people are so feel so bad about certain things that they had no control over that they'll do whatever a Black person wants them to do, even though they really don't want to do it because they don't want to be called racist. So the last thing some white people want to be called is racist. Don't fall for that trick. I am telling you, it is the devil. It is the devil. God would never have us be feeling like that over something we had nothing to do with. I mean, seriously? That just burns me up. I'm just telling you right now. I am so sick of it. I want to throw up. I'm not going to do that right here, though. Don't worry. But I don't like it. I mean, every time you turn around, well, you just racist. Well, the reason he did it because I'm Black, and Joy Reid brought it up. Every time when people do that, you can be for sure they are low down and dirty. They're low down and dirty. They're going to make you feel bad and do what they want you to do by pulling out this racism trump card. I don't like it. It's not right. It needs to die. Okay, just go away already. Makes me, I'm telling you, I know. Y'all like Linda B getting all fired up and shit. I don't like it. Y'all know me. I don't like this. I live in Georgia. Now, people might say, ooh, you live in Georgia. What you going through in Georgia? Nothing. I don't walk around with a chip on my shoulder, and I give people the benefit of the doubt until they prove otherwise. I'm not going to close my eyes to obvious things about people, but they got to really show me. You know, I'm just not going to go out there and assume the worst. Okay. And again, I live in the deep South, Central Georgia. So that's what I say about that. Now, I got to share some things about how hypocritical these lefty lefties are. Oh, y'all, they hypocritical now. We got a few clips here sharing this from Officer Tatum. I'm sure you guys have heard of him. And I thought this was a good series of clips, though. I thought I'd share this with you.
Hear what you have to say.
Yes, I yield to Scott.
I yield to my good friend Scott Jr.
And this disingenuousness is what you need to know about the Democrats right now. The party's in the ditch.
It's our fault.
We have to have Democrats because you got
Kids,
Democrats.
if you're interested in politics, watch this pivot.
You've got Democrats saying we must release the file. Joe Biden had the files for 4 years. Not a single Democrat cared. And if Donald Trump were
He
in
didn't
it,
campaign on releasing the files.
and if Donald Trump,
Trump did.
But these Democrats are acting like it's a national emergency, and they did nothing about it. If Donald Trump were in there, don't you think Joe Biden would have put? They had law enforcement chasing them.
I think we can all acknowledge Democrats are taking advantage of the situation in a political way. I mean, that does not seem like a contested thing. It's that the issue is that
look, people legitimately have questions.
Yes,
powerful people did do terrible things. I'm sure there are things in the files that cannot be released because of this. Well, would you want to have victims' names or child pornographic tapes
look,
or
all
like
that sort of
Probably
stuff.
not.
But I'm serious now. They said
You're a lawyer, by the way. Some of this stuff can't be released.
Hey, look, I don't want all the bad stuff released, but I am saying this: who's lying here? They said they had the stuff. They had them dead to rights. Donald Trump built up this huge pile of accusations, and now he's like David Copperfield, just trying to make them all disappear.
He's talking a bunch of nonsense. President Trump just answered a question in an interview that he could release the files. He didn't campaign on it. He did not campaign on it. He was focused on energy independence, securing the border, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. This was not something that was ever his focus. Okay. And so they are in, and what I've seen from President Trump over the past year and a half or so since I've been following, he tells the truth. I mean, truth is stranger than fiction. Even when he said people were doing stuff with the cats and the dogs in Springfield, Illinois, you found out later that, oh my God, that did have some credibility to it. I mean, it just sounds crazy when he said the fake news and the Russia hoax, and they were going to do what they did in the last election, the one before 2024, all of that came out to be true. So whatever. Now, I do want to pause a moment and recognize what MAGA Tamara has said. She says, I think if someone thinks they need to fight for you when you're not in a battle, that just tells you they look down on you. That is very wise, MAGA Tamara, and that's the Democrats. Those are the liberals. And I'm telling you, the farther left people go, the nuttier they get. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. They're looking down on you like, well, you know, they don't know how to do things. Like they were interviewing liberals, white liberals in New York one time. They don't know, they don't have ID. They don't know how to get to the place. I'm like, who doesn't have ID? Who doesn't know how to get to the DMV? Oh my gosh. I can't with liberals. I can't.
Why? Why won't they just release the stuff that is not going to hurt children, but might help America?
Well, it sounds like that's what the president is saying. If you have things you can release it, and then explain why you can't release the rest. That's a legitimate point of view.
We couldn't find that you made any public comments about Epstein in previous administrations.
Well, I would have been happy to raise it then as well. Frankly, we were focused on so many different pieces, but I have been one of the Democrats that has been consistent on what I call out Republican presidents for and Democratic presidents for, whether it is FISA, reforms that we need, whatever it has been. I've been pretty consistent. War powers. I've criticized Joe Biden just as I'm criticizing Donald Trump. I think transparency is not something that should happen only when you have a Republican president. It is something that we need for both Democratic and Republican presidents.
So then why didn't you call for more transparency earlier during the Biden administration? I'm just trying to better understand why you are so intent now on calling for this.
Well, I think I gave it the same focus that I'm giving it now. We haven't, I think I've released one tweet on this and you wanted to talk about it, so I'm happy to talk about it here, but it certainly hasn't been the focus. I'm just responding to what I think is a massive switch from the Trump administration around this issue. My focus has been on the big bad betrayal bill, and I will continue to focus on that. But yes, I think that this information should have been released under the Biden administration. It should be released under the Trump administration.
Let me just pause here. One of you asked, Bernie, you asked me, did I celebrate a lot in 22 when the Braves won? Interestingly enough, I was not able to do. Let me just start off by saying my husband was very, very sick. I think it was 21 when they won because he was in the hospital. And, the World Series is always in the fall, like October. So he was in the hospital. We could not have any fun. I was always at Emory Hospital in Atlanta area. So no. I just knew about it. I knew the nurses were talking about it. Yes, but we just did see it, how they made their way to the World Series. It was today or yesterday when we saw it. We just, you can look at it on YouTube anytime you want. But I wished I could have celebrated, but I just wasn't able to do that. But let's get back to this.
People were dying for this information. There was some sort of list that everybody thought was going to come out and who's on the list. What's important for us to note is we shouldn't be repeating names that are on the list, because just because your name has not on the list, but in the documents, just because your name is on the documents doesn't mean that you have done anything criminally irresponsible or illegal or civilly irresponsible. Or that you were a client. These documents, as I read them, only reflect Epstein's sexual assaults of women and his sexual behavior. So I think that
Ghislaine also.
And Ghislaine. And so being named in this suit does not equate to being accused of wrongdoing. And I think that is extremely important because conspiracy theorists seem to not understand or enjoy facts.
Yes.
These are the facts.
There is a list. Trump's name is on the logs, the passenger logs of Epstein's aircraft at least 7 times. That's already been made public. I mean, of course, Trump is denying any and all allegations, but all of that information is out there. Why not just put it to rest and say, release the list?
Okay, you see how hypocritical this, as Officer Tatum says, hamburger helpers. Hamburger helpers. She's saying just because on 2024, just last year, Sunny hosted of The View was saying, just because your name is on the list doesn't mean you are actually a part of the criminal behavior. This was about what J.E. did. Now she's saying, well, he was on the flight logs. Trump was on the flight logs at least 7 times. So, I mean, of course he denies this. You see this? You see what I'm talking about? These people are just, oof. And on this video, I got it from Officer Taylor. He said, I'm trying to be a good Christian, but I sure want to cuss. That's what he said. Because sometimes people just make you so mad because there are people out there that are so indoctrinated. They just are, I hate to say it, lazy, and they're not going to research anything. They're simply going to believe what the news is saying. And they watch left-leaning news, and it's a mess. Okay. And they look at me and people that are conservative, like, why are you supporting Trump? I made the mistake of telling people I voted for Trump. I did. I voted for him because some parts of me are like, why should not I be able to say who I support? Why can't I just say I voted for Trump, which I did. I voted for him in the Republican primary and in the general election. Why can't I say that? Everybody else is able to do that. But when you are a Black conservative, and especially if you're a female, they are looking at you cross-eyed. They are looking at you like they wish they could slap you. I'm telling you, it's hard out here in these political streets when you are a conservative. I'm trying to do my best out here, guys. But that's what I wanted to share with you guys, to show you the hypocrisy, to show you. Oh, I've got one more thing. I did want to kind of read over this a little bit. I'm not going to show it because you can't read it. It's a letter. Oh gosh, it's so hard to read. This is a letter from Vance Bolter. I am going to show it on the screen. I am going to show it, but it is so hard to read because he's got some chicken scratch handwriting, and I can't really make out what it says. This is supposedly from Vance Bolter, okay, the man who is the suspect in the shooting deaths of, I can't think of their names right now. They in the Minnesota lawmakers, okay. And let me see. It says, Dear Kash Patel, my name is Dr. Vance Luther Bolter. I am the shooter at large in Minnesota. Whatever. I can't really read it. It would take me forever to just make my way through this. But what it basically says is, this is coming by way of Laura Loomer. It says the confession letter written by Minnesota shooter Vance Bolter has been released. He wrote the letter to Kash Patel. In the letter, he said, Tim Walz wanted me to unalive Amy Klobuchar. Tim wants to be a senator. This is a very detail-oriented letter. I hope the FBI investigates Tim Walz. That's what that is right there. So I just read that to you. So I can't make out the letter. Sorry, you guys can look that up and see if you can read through the chicken scratch. I can't really read through it, but allegedly he wrote that. I'm not going to say he wrote it. I'm going to say allegedly to everything in this video because I don't want to get in trouble. But you guys, thank you so much for watching me and tuning in tonight. I will not be doing a live tomorrow because it's Friday. But I do want you guys to check out my videos that I post every day, typically around 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. But I might be changing the times that I push out my videos. Okay, so you all be blessed. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, hit all notifications. You all be blessed. Love God, your families, these United States of America. And as I always say, march on, warriors. Good night, everybody.